right, we are now going to move on to factoring. So zero product property is needed for factoring. I want to briefly talk about zero product property. So if you were to have two values, let's say A and B, and we were to multiply them together, and we get 0 as an answer. So if you think about taking two numbers, multiplying them together, there's something that always happens between one of the two numbers in order to get a product of 0. So A has to be 0 or B has to be 0, or I guess they both could be. So if it were 0 times B, I would get 0. If it were A times 0, I would get 0. So what that means is A has to equal 0 or B would have to equal 0. So when we get to a situation where we are factoring and we get two sets of parentheses and they're equal to 0, well, one of those sets of the parentheses has to equal 0 in order to multiply and get a 0. Okay, so I will reference back to that. All right, solve by factoring. One really important thing here, I must have the trinomial equal to 0 in order to factor. So like if you look ahead at number 2, it's equal to 21. I cannot factor until it's equal to 0. So I need to rearrange the problem to make that happen if necessary. So I'm in good shape here. I would first double check, do I have a GCF to factor out? And I don't. So I'm noticing A is equal to 1, so let's guess and check. Okay, so I've got factors of 8, 1 times 8, or 2 times 4. So I want them to add up to 6, so 4 plus 2 is 6. So I can go ahead and finish factoring. I have x and x. One set has a 2, the other has a 4. They both can stay positive, and don't forget equals 0. So now I'm going to apply the zero product property. I have a factor times a factor equal to 0. So in order to solve for x, either A would be equal to 0 or B. So I'm going to do something similar where I'm going to say x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x plus 4 would be equal to 0. And then we would just solve these two simple equations, and those are our two solutions. So take away 2, take away 2. So I get x equals negative 2. That's one of my solutions. Take away 4, take away 4. So I have x equals negative 4. So I'm out of space here. So I'm going to say x equals negative 2 or x equals negative 4 would be our two solutions. Okay, so it's a little different than square rooting because when we solve by square root, it's plus or minus that particular value. But when we solve by factoring, we typically have two different answers as a solution. Okay, I'm going to solve the second one. If you want to pause right here and do 2 and 3, go right ahead. This is a review lesson. So if you want to pause, do that. And when you come back, I will have continued on. Okay, I need to have a 0 over here. So I'm going to take away 21 from both sides. So I'm going to have 3x squared minus 2x minus 21 equals 0. I'm going to guess and check here. If you want to do that split the middle method or that, the X method or diamond, whatever you call it, that's fine. So I'm going to switch to pencil here because I might have to rearrange. So I have factors of 3 would only be 1 times 3. Factors of 21, I've got 1 and 21 and a 3 and a 7. So it's got to be 1x and 3x. So x, 3x. And it doesn't matter if I put the 3x and the x in that order, that's fine. I'm going to start at the bottom, 3 and 7. See if I get lucky and I guessed correctly. So 3 times 3 would give me 9x. X and 7 would be 7x. Okay, I can make that say negative 2. So if I make the 9 negative and the 7 positive, and then I can fit that in. And I think this example is really, these examples I just realized are pretty similar to what we did before. Okay, negative in front of the 3, plus in front of the 7. So I want to get rid of this because I need to continue solving. If you did pen, that's fine. You can just move on. I just don't want to have that there. Okay, now I go back to that zero product property like we did here. So I'm going to have x minus 3 equals 0, or 3x plus 7 equals 0, and then I just solve them out. So add 3 to both sides. X equals 3 is one of your solutions. Take away 7 from both sides. That would give me a negative 7. Divide by 3. X equals... I'm going to leave it as negative 7/3 because that is a repeating decimal. So these two are my solutions. All right, last one here on the factoring. I need to shift the 48 to the other side. So I'm going to take away 48 on both sides. X squared minus 8x minus 48 equals 0. Okay, a value is 1. I can do a quick guess and check here. I know it's got to be x times x. So factors of 48, I'll go ahead and write them over here. I've got 1 and 48. I've got 2 and 24. 3. I think 3 goes into 48. What is that? 48 divided by 3 is 16. 4 does go into 48. 4 and 12. There's a lot here. 5 does not work. 6 will go into 48. Isn't that 8? Yes, 6 times 8. Okay, so remember, I'm looking for one of those sets to add up to a negative 8. Add or subtract to 8. I'm going to look at it that way. So I'm looking for which set of factors are 8 units apart. Okay. I can do, if I did 12 minus 4, I get 8. I want it to be a negative 8. So I need to make the 12 negative and the 4 positive. That would give me a negative 8. Does that give me a negative 48 when I multiply? And it does. Okay, so those are my two factors, positive 4, negative 12. And then now I'm ready to do that zero product property. X plus 4 equals 0. X minus 12 equals 0. And then from here I solve. If I take away 4 from both sides, I get negative 4. If I plus 12, I get positive 12. Okay, that is solving by factoring. So I'm going to stop this video here and we'll pick up the other methods on the next video.